All right. Well, I figured out what I did on the whole screen share thing. So I'm going to do a brief recap, sharing my screen. I figured out the little magical button. I figured the little magical button that I didn't hit. All right. So I'm sharing my screen now with you all, and I'll do a brief recap. So what you see there is when James Green, if you watch the other video, I encourage you to do that. Content, some good content, and still some really good information in that video. So in the early '90s, a mentor, a guy who got me started in really the whole, just making me real hungry to understand about investing. He asked me the question of, would you rather have $1 million today, right now, or would you rather have a penny that doubles every day for 30 days? So I chose, I did. I did, man. I chose the $1 million. He said, I tell you what, you go back, you calculate, add up with that penny, double it every day, do the math on it, and figure out what it does, doubling for 30 days, every day for 30 days, and you get back with me and let me know what your decision is if you still would take the $1 million right now. So I went and I did that, sat down, piece of paper, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 day. And so this is what I came up with, right? So you see in here the penny that doubles every day for 30 days. It's just magical. So let's before I share that with you, let me go back to once again about the formula on, the whole thing about compound interest and what Einstein said. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Albert Einstein, one of the smartest men that ever lived. Many people, most of us would concur with that, right? And how you're able to calculate the formula on the rule of 72s is, once again, you take 72 and you divide it by the interest rate. And when you divide it by the interest rate, it shows you how long or what time period it takes for money to double in a particular time period at a certain particular interest rate, interest percentage. So at 15%, money doubles every 4.8 years. At 12%, money doubles every 6 years, right? Based on that formula, 72 divided into the interest rate. So when James Green asked me the question at that time, early in my life, I was in my early 20s, I did not understand the ideal of compound interest. This was my introduction into compound interest, and it changed my life forever. And that's why I wanted to share with you, because if you hear the same thing that I heard, how many years ago? 30 years ago, however long it was, it changed my life. Finding out about compounded interest. James Green and Roosevelt Sanders. Roosevelt Sanders then began to introduce me to mutual funds and brokerage accounts. And he was the first person to help me set up my first online brokerage account through E-Trade, do-it-yourself brokerage account. Back then, things were different, totally different in the scope of do-it-yourself investing. But that penny that doubles for 30 days, every day for 30 days, look at it. It really doesn't do much of anything for the first 20 days. Day one, you got a penny. Day two, you got two pennies. Day three, you got four. By day five, you just got $5.12. It seems like nothing's happening, right? But if you hold on to that penny and let it continue to double, day 20, you got just over $5,000. Day 21, you got just over $10,000. And it still seems like it's really not doing much, right? But it's when you get to those last few days with this thing doubling like it does. Day 23, you got over 41,000, close to $42,000. Day 24, you got $83,886.08. This really stirred a hunger in me to want to learn about investing and this magical thing that Einstein said was the eighth wonder of the world, the rule of 72's compounded interest. I had never heard about it. It changed my life, as I said. By day 27, $671,000, right? Day 28, $1,342,177.28. By the time you get to day 30, that penny that doubled every day for 30 days slaughtered that one-time lump sum $1 million that I was blessed with in my hands, metaphorically speaking. And that penny became, in 30 days, 5,368,709 and 2 nickels and 2 pennies. And I hope that this information and seeing, if you're seeing this for the first time, or maybe you've heard of it before, that it stirs a hunger in you, just like it did me those many years ago. And it opened up my mind to want to know more and want to know more. And literally, when you get this information and someone show you how to catch fish, and don't just hand something to you and give you handouts and show you this is a way to catch fish for your future, for the future of your children, for the future of your family, right? This can build legacy. This is the generational wealth, the compounding of the interest that's earned on interest that can change your life and your future forever. So, compound interest, the magic of it. So the historical data that I went over in the last video, here's a screen. You can see the historical data provided to us by First Trust Portfolio, right? And it kind of takes you through various years in the market, beginning from 1926, right? And as you go from 1926, you see in the lower parts of the brown there, those were the downturns in the market. And you see a 2.8-year downturn that was 81% losses, right? But after that, we see where the market took a rebound and a bull market occurred after that, that lasted for almost 14 years with total returns of over 800% and annualized returns of 17.2. Fast forward, I won't go through all of them like I did in the previous video, because now you can see my screen. You see this downturn there, roughly around 1970 or so. It says there was a 1.6 year, so just about a year and a half, a bull market, a bear market occurred. And in that bear market, losses were about 42% total, annualized loss of during that 1.5 year period, like 20, is at 20, 27? So small, 27% or so. But then after that, that turn, then a 12.9, almost 13-year bull market, a rebound occurred with total returns of 845% and annualized returns of 19%. So historical data has shown us through previous recessions and bear markets that afterwards, the bull markets, when the rebound occurs, they typically last longer than those times downturns in the market, right? We won't go through the economic factors or different types of theories or whatever types of things that would cause this to happen, but the market is cyclical. It's like a big circle. And, there will be times when there are bear markets, and there will be times when there are downturns and corrections in the market. They are inevitable. At the same time, we see over this historical data, the history of the U.S. and bear and bull market since 1926. You can see the rebounds that occurred. You look at 2018. Roughly about 2000. That would be around 2008 or so. Yeah, 2008 or so. There's a 1.3 year correction, 50% losses, right? 41.4% annualized, over that 1.3 year period. But then from 2010 up until 2018 or so, we see it was a 9.3 year period of a bull market and a rebound where there was a 350% total returns with annualized returns of 17.5%. That's historical data showing from 1926 up until like 2018 or so. And so I went through to show you an ideal. If you go back to 1926 and you take a look at what different types of portfolios would have made had what types of returns over the history of the market from 26 to 2019, what types of returns or average annual returns different types of portfolios allocations would have had. So if you would have had a very, very conservative, 100% fixed income, very conservative portfolio, even that portfolio from 1926 to 2019 still had average annual returns of over 5%, 5.33%. And since 1926, historical data shows, we are in a time of high inflation right now. We all know it. You go try to buy you some chicken wings from the grocery store. Good Lord Jesus. My God, I think we'll eat hot dogs today. We all see what's happening at the gas pump. No matter what type of finger point we want to do, it is what it is, right? But I want us to focus on the fact of since 1926, over this duration of time, the average annual percentage of inflation is roughly about 3.2%. So even if inflation from 1926 has been eating at and just stripping away at your invested dollars, your investment portfolio, you still would have outpaced inflation with a very conservative fixed income investment. You still would have outpaced inflation plus 2%, plus about 2.1%, right? With a very conservative fixed income investment. If you go down here to now a very aggressive 100% equity investment, international funds, tech stocks, you know, large cap stocks, small cap stocks, whatever, just a 100% equity invested all in stocks, no bonds, no conservative type investments, no these safe utility stocks, none of that, none of these, slow growing, income producing stocks, nothing. We're talking about aggressive 100% equity stocks. Since 1926, you will see that average annual returns have been over 10%. So you still, I said like 7% in my last video, but if inflation is at 3.2%, yeah, like 7%, you still would have outpaced inflation, being extremely aggressive, taking on a lot more risk. Over the same period of time, you would still have outpaced inflation by over 7%. The best year would have been 1933, 54%. Now let's go back. Best year, 1933, right? Look what happened. History of the market. Look at the 1930s. You see what that downturn was? Huge losses of over 81%, right? But then there was a 13, almost 14-year bear market rebound period, right? Right? So it says the best years of a 100% equity investment from 1926 up to 2019, 54%. So the rebounds typically tend to be, uh, look at the numbers, right, from the history of the market. You see the worst year, 1931, that big downturn, 43% losses on 100%, very aggressive 100% equity funds. So we still got to make our money work for us, right? If we become fearful, if we become afraid, if we start panicking, you inevitably always make not so wise decisions. Let's just say it. Bad decisions. Decisions that are made hasty, decisions that are made out of fear tend not to be the best decisions that can produce the type of outcomes that we want. So, although past performances, as I read before, are not a guarantee of future performance, investing your money long term rather than putting it and sticking it in a mattress, a long term plan, a long term strategy, you can outpace inflation. You can help to manage your risk, do a risk assessment profile, have that done. Follow some of the principles that can help to manage risk based on what your risk assessment is or what your risk tolerance is, and stick to that plan long term, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, right? Start early. Use time to your advantage to let the factor of the theory of the time value of money and compound interest and future value projections. Let that work for your benefit. Let that work for the benefit of you and the benefit of your children. The Bible talks about us being wise and leaving an inheritance to our children's children. And in order to do that, we can't think short term. You can't think about leaving an inheritance to your children's children with a short term mindset or a short term philosophy. So we have to be mindful that we have to think long term. And as we think long term, the benefit is that we are able, um, let's go back there. Sorry. We are able to, oh, let's get this off the screen. End show. There we go. We're able to see the importance of thinking long term. Thinking long term. Long term thinking, right? Because if you think short term, so long term thinking, you don't want to make bad decisions. You want to come up with a very solid strategy and stick to it. It is so worth it to stick to it, right? And let history, it does, like I say, past performances does not guarantee future success, right? That's a disclosure statement that everybody in the investment, you know, arena have to provide that disclosure statement. But you see the historical data, you see the historical numbers, come up with a strategy, stick to it long term. I don't want to beat a dead horse with that. Stick to it long term and let TVM, the time value of money, future projected numbers, let that work for your benefit. Right. So thanks once again watching this recap. Hey, I'm okay with having done this kind of all over again, right? You just got two bits, two videos to watch, right? Two videos to watch, but press that heart, man. Share this video. Man, this information about compounded interest changed my life. Changed my life for the better. And I've never forgotten those lessons that James Green taught me. You know, would you rather have $1 million today, or would you rather have a penny that doubles every day for 30 days? That's the power of compounded interest and investing your money and not sticking it in an interest. Because if you're concerned about inflation, you will be concerned about it if you stick your money in a mattress or stick it over in a safe somewhere or stick it over, dig up put it in a crate, wrap it in plastic and dig up, in a hole in your yard somewhere and stick it in there. All right. Thanks for watching once again. I appreciate it. Drop me some comments below. I was able to share my screen in this video because I figured out that I didn't press one itty bitty teeny weeny button that made my screen pop up. Everybody have a